What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we're going to be doing something a little bit different. We're going to have some fun with this one. This is 5 bold predictions for the Detroit Lions this offseason, okay? 5 bold predictions. So, like, with free agency and stuff. Mainly free agency. This isn't about the draft. Probably could have did some draft stuff. But maybe we'll do, like, 5 bold draft predictions. Let's get it started.
You know, I got to shout out DoseOfDion, man, because it was actually the first time I went live on YouTube. And, you know, guys don't know, DoseOfDion, he put out a lot of good content for the Detroit Lions.
Welcome everybody to our video. Glad you guys are here. And today, yes, I'm doing a 5 bold predictions. Okay, these are predictions, so not necessarily what I want, but more what I'm thinking might happen. I'm predicting here. These are super bold. All right. Now, I feel like historically I've been pretty bad with predictions. You know, I've hit on my, fair share, like 3, but for the most part, it's usually not that good. So expect these to be wrong. You know what's going to be funny if I get every single one of these wrong? Honestly, I'd be okay with that because I'd laugh. I'm trying, though. You know what they say. You can't shoot your shot if you don't shoot it. That's not what they say. You can't make your shot if you don't shoot the shot. Something like that. I don't know what the exact saying is. But you guys know what I'm talking about. So I'm about to shoot, step back, shot that shot. Let's see if I can make it. Hopefully I can hit on some of these. I'm going to try to be 100% correct with these. But, again, these aren't necessarily what I want. It's more what I'm predicting is going to happen this offseason. So I guess let's just get right into it. Let's get it started. All right, so the first bold prediction that I have out of my 5, my first one is that quarterback Jarrod Goff will be restructured by the Detroit Lions this offseason. We have a full video breakdown of what it would look like for the Detroit Lions to restructure a guy like Jarrod Goff, what it would look like for his contract, for our cap space, for the future years, us trying to get out with Jarrod Goff. So we have a full video on that if you guys want to hear the whole works. So basically, Jarrod Goff is coming in by this trade. We traded away Matthew Stafford, so we're taking up some dead money there. And Jarrod Goff comes in with this massive contract where it's like, wow, we're taking out a lot of money. I mean, his base salary for the season is $25.6 million. What? That's a lot of money. And in a tough year with COVID, it's a lot of money, all right? We broke. No, seriously, we kind of broke, though. So even including the Desmond Trufant cut, not including the Terrell Williams contract, because I don't know the complete officialness of it. I don't know exactly what the number is going to be there because they kind of fluctuate a little bit. I have a pretty good feeling of what it's be, roughly $5 million up to 6.2, but I don't know the exact number, so I'll just stay away from that. But not even including his contract to our cap space and including the Desmond Trufant cut, money we're going to save from that, we're still roughly $3 million over the cap, which means, man, we still got to make more moves. That's not including money for the draft. That's not, I mean, that's we got to have a lot of money because we don't just need money for free agents. We got to have roughly $8 to $10 million for the draft, depending on how many picks that we have. Then you need money during the season. You need money for like IR, things like that. So the Lions need to have money. Now, the thought is, well, wait, you don't want to restructure Jarrod Goff because the one thing about Jarrod Goff's contract is that the great thing is in 2023 and 2024, there's no guarantees. So it's clean, right? You can just clean swipe, get out of it if you don't want to keep Jarrod Goff around 2 years from now, and you can just move on. That is true. That is very, very true. But even with a restructure, the max amount they can restructure, which would save them nearly $20 million this offseason, still wouldn't put the Lions in a situation where they can't move on from Goff. They just have a little bit of guaranteed money there. But it's nothing that's overly excessive where the Lions, I don't think, can do it and they won't consider doing it. So I have a feeling that they will do this. So let's just quickly, I guess, break down the numbers. If you haven't seen the video, it's a lot more detailed. They didn't even restructure his contract. They just left it as is. And after this season, they said, you know what? We want to move on from Jarrod Goff. Well, there's still a $15 million dead money. There's still $15 million in dead money, even without the restructure after this season. So the thought is it would come in 2022 or 2023, 2 years from now, right? So let's say they restructure his contract. So the Lions restructure the max amount that they possibly can, which would save them about $20 million this season, which really beneficial for them because it would put them about $16 million under the cap, not including the Terrell Williams contract, which would probably bump them down to like $10 to $11 million under the cap, but it's still better than where they were. And then you're thinking, okay, well, how do we get out of it? Well, yes, in 2022, you're probably not getting out of that contract. But in 2023, it still only is $13 million in dead money, which is, it's a lot, but it's, it's not terrible. And in 2024, it's only $6.7 million. So it's not free. It's not as clean as it was before, but I have a feeling, and I don't think the Lions even need to restructure the max amount they don't want. They could put less. But basically all restructuring does, just for a simplified version, is it takes money from that base salary, the $25.6 million, cuts that way down, puts it into a signing bonus, says, here you go, Jarrod Goff. You can have this right now. He gets excited, like, what? But on the cap numbers, it spreads it out through the rest of his contract as a guaranteed bonus, and it splits it up so that every single year it's less and less and less. You guys know what I'm saying? You get what I'm saying? So ultimately $6.7 million, per season. So you keep adding that up until you get to 2024, then it's only $6.7 million to get out. So I don't know. That's just one of my first predictions. I think the Lions will do that. I think the Lions they kind of just need money. If you think about it like this, there was a $14 million dead cap when Matthew Stafford was traded this offseason. So that's still more than what it would be if you try to move on from Jared Goff after 2 seasons after a restructure. So I guess that's one way to look at it. Plus, if he plays well enough and the Lions don't have to move him and they could keep him through the rest of his contract, then no harm done. The only reason it does harm is if you move on to him because it's a little bit of guarantee there instead of it was before. Trey Flowers, he has the guarantee money throughout the rest of his contract, right? We looked at that. Jared Goff could play well enough, stay here for the 4 years, then boom, you save $20 million. This year, he's still here anyways, and you don't lose nothing. I mean, it's just like, okay, nice. So hopefully he can stay for 4 years then if we do that. Not saying he will, but I don't think you're forced into keeping him still. I just don't think it's that much where it's like, $20 million, we can't get out of this. If you still can get out of it. As long as the NFL gets back to where we're hoping it does in terms of salary cap and it takes that big jump after COVID and everything kind of calms down, then we'll be in a situation where we're going to get a lot of that money back like every team will, and maybe it won't hurt that bad. It just won't. So that's my first prediction. I think the Lions are going to look to save some money, and I think that will happen with a Jared Goff restructure. If it was more gripping for the future where the Lions literally could not get out of his contract then I probably wouldn't predict it, but I think they actually will. The second thing I'm predicting, the second bold prediction I have, I don't know if this one is super bold, but this is that Jarrod Davis gets re-signed by the Detroit Lions. Now, Jarrod Davis had his 5th-year option decline with the Matt Patricia and Bob Quinn regime, which is kind of expected because he didn't play a ton. I don't think he played bad. Like last season, he actually played pretty well for the little role that he was asked of, but he was a very rotational player, right? He wasn't an all-down linebacker. It was like some weeks we saw him more than others. Some weeks he played, some weeks he didn't play. It was just hit and miss with him, but it makes sense because he wasn't drafted for this scheme. Now, I don't know exactly what scheme we're going to run with Dan Campbell, with this new regime that's coming in with Aaron Glenn. I don't know exactly what they're going to look to do defensively, but I just have the weird feeling, just how Dan Campbell has expressed his thoughts on Jarrod Davis in the past, that he's going to want to bring this guy back as long as the contract isn't super expensive. It's kind of like Denzel Perryman in a way, just the kind of player that he is, because that's someone that we've considered, it's a cheap contract, linebacker, early down linebacker. I kind of get some of the similar vibes there with Jarrod Davis, and just the way that Dan Campbell talks about him, like he'll split your chin open, he'll lay you out. Like that's the kind of player that I feel like Dan Campbell really likes, and I don't think it'll be super expensive. I don't know what he's going to get this offseason. I don't know how much interest there's going to be out there. I think maybe a few teams will be interested in a cheap deal with him, but I think the Lions will actually ultimately bring him back for one, depth, but also because they like the play style, and he'll be a rotational player. If we're in a 4-3, he's got a shot to take over that, middle linebacker position. If not, then he'll probably continue to be a rotational player that can get after the quarterback and hopefully stuff some run plays. You know what I'm saying?
Know what I'm saying? You're saying know what I'm saying too many times. 80 or 90 times? That's too many times. Once or twice is cool, but 80 or 90 times, man?
What are you, from the department of know what I'm saying? You taking the know what I'm senses? You counting my know what I'm saying?
So that makes me to my third bold prediction, and this is that Romeo Okwara gets an extension. Now, this one, I've actually recently started to kind of wait for a little bit. I'm like, oh, Willie though? I'm not really sure. Like Willie Mammoth. I'm not really sure. But I think ultimately, in my heart, I do believe that Romeo gets an extension with the Detroit Lions. And here's my thinking. I think a lot of this has to do with Julian Okwara. I really do. I mean, Aaron Glenn talked highly about it, but he's not going to talk, bad about any player, really. But he did say that, he's a pressure player, and you got to have those in the NFL. And a lot of it really does depend on how much, he's going to get in the offseason, how much teams are willing to throw at him. And it could be a lot. But pass rushers, I mean, teams pay a lot of money for pass rushers. And look, I know that, last season he had the 10 sacks or whatnot, and he had his great season. But that wasn't the only time he's played well. I mean, if we're being fair, 2018, this guy had 7.5 sacks. 2019, he only had 1.5, but he was getting to the quarterback just as often in 2019. He just wasn't coming up with the sacks. But he definitely showed last year that he'd get after the quarterback with some of the best of them. He's still young. I understand what's on the contract year, but I think because his brother's still there in Julian, because he still did have that good 2018, and because his price may not be super expensive, maybe he takes a little bit less to come back with Julian. His price may not be super expensive, where usually pass rushers are. I think like a 3-year deal here is what we could see from the Detroit Lions. A 3-year deal where, okay, where are we 2 years from now? Romeo will be part of this. And then that next season, you kind of decide, okay, do we want to go forward with the next chapter, wherever we are as a team? Do we want to bring him back again? What do we want to do? So I'm thinking like a 3-year deal. PFF projects 3 years, basically $6.5 million a year. Even $6.5 million a year isn't a ton, especially if they do what I said in my first one and restructure Jared Goff. If Romeo's price point jumps up to near $10 million a year, I wouldn't be surprised at that point the Lions let him walk. And then maybe, they go with someone in in the draft to potentially fill that spot out, or look at a guy like Trey Hendrickson. A lot of people think the Lions could target this offseason, defensive end from the New Orleans Saints. So if his price tag jumps way up, but if it stays around that $6.5–7 million mark, I think the Lions will probably bring him back. Next bold prediction, my fourth bold prediction, is that Justin Coleman will get cut this offseason, and it would not shock me if it was a June 1st cut. Is this fair to say this is a bold prediction? I don't know, but I think it's going to happen. All right, look, they kind of teased us that Desmond Trufant was going to be cut, and they were like, well, things will go down this week, and it's like, oh, he's going to get cut because if he was going to get cut, why would they even say anything? Like, there's nothing to say. He's still on the team. He's still under contract, and they also threw Justin Coleman's name into there. So I'm like, oh yeah, I think this guy's going to get cut. See, a normal cut saves them, almost $5 million, which isn't that bad. I mean, hey, any money can help, but a post June 1st cut could save them up to $9 million, which is really nice. Now, a post June 1st cut, if you didn't know, it basically will take, because you're cutting him, there's that dead money. Instead of taking all that dead money and putting it on this season, it instead spreads that out through what, the next couple of years, through what the remainder of his contract would have been. All right, so that's kind of just a simplified version of that. So I think it's like $2 million then each season. Now, Lions don't have to do that if they don't want to put any money in the future, towards players that aren't here. I get it. They don't. If they want to just take it on now and just be like, hey, we don't want to do this. We don't mess with it. We just want to cut him and save our $4.9 million and go on with our day. That could happen. I just have a feeling he's going to get cut, which kind of stinks, to be honest with you. I mean, he signed a gigantic deal when he came here, 3 years, $27 million from Seattle. And, he gave us some really good moments, really good at punching the ball out. I mean, that's the best part of his game. We know he's athletically very gifted, but I just got a feeling that something like this will happen. I know they're going to be super depleted at corner, but I have a feeling that the Lions are going to bring in guys with ties at cornerback in free agency, and they're also going to be drafting players that they feel like they can develop with a staff that's full of really good secondary guys. Aaron Glenn, who's our DC, and Aubrey Pleasant. So I just got a feeling that Justin Coleman will be one of the cuts, really a lot based on what Dan Campbell kind of alluded to in the presser. But we'll see, maybe not. And then my final one is this, and this was a difficult one. Kenny Golladay will not get the franchise tag. But let me get to my second part in a second. Kenny Golladay and me won't get the franchise tag. I think the signing of Terrell Williams kind of just put the nail in the coffin that ain't happening. I don't think it's going to happen. $16.4 million for Golladay and up almost $6.2 million, depending on how the contract works out. It could get up to $6.2 million for Terrell Williams, which basically puts you at, just under $23 million between two receivers, is a ton of money. And I just don't think the Lions will want to spend $16 million for one season. I just kind of been running this scenario through my head, just how I think this could have went down. So here's my thought. So Dan Campbell told us during the press conference that, having a guy, like Golladay is obviously great. But I'm thinking to myself, okay, tagging Golladay would be difficult. So I think, we heard Dan Campbell say during the media presser that I would like to be tagged. Maybe pushing for the fact that maybe, Golladay should want to be tagged. And maybe that was something that Golladay, we've already heard before, that he would have wanted to do, but it's something that he can't control. So maybe it's something that Golladay necessarily doesn't want. So that's why they signed Terrell Williams. Terrell Williams gives you a one-year deal, which is kind of like a cheaper tag almost, but not the Golladay level, but it's kind of a receiver to help fill out for now. So then that puts the Lions' decision, okay, do we try to extend him? Or, who's 27 years old right now, do we extend him for 3-4 years? Or do we just let him walk? Now, you can always try to tag and trade. And if you try to tag and trade him, what we've seen in the past is that Jarvis Landry, we saw that, he only got a 4th-round pick and a 7th-round pick, which you can make the case is better than the comp pick that they will get in 2022, which will be at the end of the 3rd round, which isn't bad. You can make the case it will be better, but will it be better in a tough offseason where someone's going to take him in and then automatically extend him, who's going to get about $16 million on a tag? I think what the Bears will probably do is honestly do that role. I think they'll probably try to tag him and try to trade him and see what they can get in return for Allen Robinson. Which makes it interesting because could that push potentially Kenny Galladay's value down if they tag and trade target? I already have them re-signing Okwara. So if they try to extend Okwara, that makes it even more difficult to try to tag him. Lions want to put the message out there that they want to keep their guys that they are drafting, but this wasn't someone that they drafted. I think they want to extend him. It just depends on how high of a price will that cost for the Lions. I think the Lions want to extend him if they can get a deal done where it's not a ridiculous amount, then I think that's what they'll do. If they can't get that deal done, I think he walks. I don't see a tag happening with Golladay. I don't. So I think either he's extended, they can get a deal done, they can maybe push off some money from this season so they can still save money for this year so it's financially possible because they want to keep around a guy like this. But if it gets to the point where, let's say, it's over $16 million a season, I think the Lions let him walk. I don't think they want to let him walk. They want to extend him. But having him walk, taking up the comp pick for 2022 might be what happens. They can't do that if it's up to near the tag price for the season. I think he walks. I think they take the comp pick and they go on. But I think my bold prediction here is that there is no tag. It's just so hard to decipher what's going to happen. I mean, because it could happen. And you think, well, wait, could they tag Romeo? Well, Romeo's tag would be so expensive this season, I don't think they can do it. I mean, we've seen pass rushers get more in return than receivers on the tag and trades historically, but would Romeo even get that much money? Would Romeo even get that big of a return if his price isn't going to be super high as a free agent? Because why wouldn't you just sign him? So I don't think Romeo's in play necessarily for tag and trade as much as Golladay is. They restructure Goff. It's a possibility they could. Now, Golladay, to me, is going to have to be an extension because they're going to have to try to backload a little bit of it. I don't know what his value is going to look like in free agency. Maybe they give him a transition tag, maybe something like that. I mean, I know there's no return, but at least then they can match the offer, you know, and it's a little bit cheaper on a tag. It'd be like $14.7 million, and then they can match an offer another team puts out there if they want to. I know they won't get compensation in return if he does end up going elsewhere, so maybe that's not an option. I don't know. I don't know, man. I just don't know. What the heck, bro? What do y'all think? This is tough. You do an extension where it's probably significantly less money this season than what a franchise tag would be. I think an extension happens. If that's not the case, and an extension is looking at close to what the franchise tag is for this season, I think he walks, and I think they try to take their pick, and they take their comp pick for 2022. But I know the Lions want to build for the future. I get that they want to build through the draft. So that's why I thought tag and trade could be an option. I just find that less of an option now. Maybe that, you know, I just find that maybe less of an option now that the fact that Terrell Williams is here. And plus, I think they want to have Golladay part of this team. So it's going to be, can they get that price pointed down for over this season on that extension? And if they can do that, I think an extension happens. If they can't, then I think he walks. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts, comments below. I mean, these are bold predictions, so don't hate me in the comment section below. Hopefully I get one of these right. Just one. I mean, just let me celebrate a little bit. Let me celebrate 20% of this being right. Because, guys, there's a chance none of these are right. All right? I don't know what's going to happen, but it's just predictions. Again, this isn't necessarily what I want. I've done mock off seasons. You guys know a lot of things that I'm looking to do this off season. But, and if you guys have any questions about that, put in the comments below. But these are some bold predictions. So, yeah. Let me know your thoughts, guys, below. Thank you for watching. And I'm out.